87% of retailers are selling their products online too, and 20% of those retailers are selling online as a result of the pandemic. So we're seeing this incremental growth. 73% of consumers have bought products directly from social media, and direct to consumer selling is certainly on the rise. So consumers are making a purchase without even leaving Instagram. That's just the new trend that we're seeing, and it's here to stay. And so by expanding their businesses online, an overwhelming majority of retailers have told us that they are able to tackle challenges presented to them. If they hadn't, they wouldn't have survived. And our next challenge to opportunity is combining online to in-person shopping. So brick and mortar stores, particularly local shops, help make communities what they are. So they're bringing the energy, the culture, the personality to the high streets. And we don't think that's going to change, but it's simply taking the next step to sell online. So the expansion to online channels is more about complementing digital as a way of selling, and a way of building relationships with customers. So as retailers expand to online channels, they have the opportunity to connect these online and offline experiences. And what I mean by that is a customer can shop online from their bed at 3 a.m. in the morning and then pick up that item in store the very next day. Or they can have a pair of trousers shipped to them and then return it in store the next day. So it's more about a convenience element, being able to be there for your customers. And it also means that you'll get repeat customers and increase your sales as well. And thirdly, play a role in the local community. So COVID also prompted people across the world to shop locally and support small businesses. So one of the positive impacts of travel restrictions over the course of the pandemic has been the return to local and the return to the high street. So not just in terms of businesses and their customers, but also a growing sense of community, and it's important in day-to-day life. So in the UK, and especially across London, we noticed that food and drink and retail retailers have stayed particularly resilient during the pandemic, with anecdotal evidence that specialised food outlets like bakeries and butchers are even benefiting from the lockdown and consumers' willingness to support them. Our research has shown that a quarter of stores started doing business with local companies in the last 12 months, a trend 37% of consumers would like to see continue. And the feedback from many of our retailers is that they intend to continue that in the community. And fourthly, selling safely. This one shouldn't be a surprise. With COVID, hygiene levels, there's heightened awareness, the transmission of viruses. So it's accelerated the adoption of digital payments and commerce tools in every market that we operate in. And it's also shoppers wanting to limit social contact and accept digital forms of payment, and orders have become just essential. So now that businesses have their payment infrastructure in place, it's likely to stay. It's not going away. People aren't going to revert to cash payments. And so it's also something to consider is converting your store into a more COVID-safe or consumer-safe environment with in-store layouts changing. So 88% of consumers consider safety measures imposed during lockdown to be critical when shopping indoors. And a third of stores have adopted new layouts to allow for social distancing, with 43% have installed plexiglass shields. And irrespective of government regulations, these retailers plan to keep these safety measures in place. And number 5, embed technology in the background for success. So if there are any technophobes out there, this one is really important. It's here to stay, and it's going to just continue. So one of these is inventory management software, which is synchronized between your online and offline point of sale system. So if someone purchases something in store, and then that's the last stock you have in order, that's the last thing you have in order, you want your online store to mark it as out of stock. So you want both of these systems to talk to each other. If you don't, then a customer will buy that item or try to buy that item online, and then you'll have to send them an email to them saying, sorry, it's actually out of stock, which can be really frustrating. And so you want to place the customer at the heart of your operation and ensure that doesn't happen. And it also takes the admin out of your day as well, or the heavy admin out of your day. And number two, a prominent post-lockdown success that we're seeing throughout retail is the click and collect model mentioned earlier. So if managed correctly, services such as click and collect could be really lucrative for your business and as a way of expanding it. So to cater to customers' more immediate shopping needs, many stores, 50%, are bridging the gap by offering same-day pickup. The bakery Greggs, they're a square seller of ours as well, they've implemented click and collect so customers can order in and pay in advance and then come in store later to pick it up. And it works for them because they can manage their queue and manage everyone that's coming in, and it's also a more convenient way for them to sell their products. And thirdly, this one is a bit more out there, but we're seeing retailers take on a QVC style approach on TikTok or using flash sales on Instagram, where customers have direct message to the brand at a certain time to get the product. It creates a sense of urgency and it seems to be on the rise. Live stream selling is also another one. So that's when a host demonstrates a product to an online audience through social media or through a direct video call. And that has piqued the interest of about 26% of consumers. Even further, 35% of those surveyed go a step further, as they like the idea of virtual reality shopping. So it's an immersive experience, online experience, which thrills the customers if they're in store, but they're obviously not. This one I've personally not seen in practice, but 35% is a huge number. So clearly it's a way of innovating that's coming to us this year. And the deli downstairs. This is an example of a business. They're based in Hackney, and it's just a great example of someone who's pivoted their business during lockdown, and they're seeing the benefit of it even today. So Sophie is the owner, and she immediately started doing deliveries in reaction to lockdown to minimize the queue in her store and to make sure that she could get food to local customers who were shielding or isolating. The vast majority of the deli downstairs customers were local and lived around a few hundred miles away. So meaning it was a very local element, and it meant that she could stay open and was there for her customers when a lot of other places were shutting. Sophie introduced an interesting new feature to the store. They had to expand their product range dramatically and very quickly as reacting to what people needed. They actually had a list on a clipboard at the door, and they asked customers to write down what they needed, and they would order it in. So for having that, they needed to have a really good inventory system to record all the items that people were using. Click and collect was also something that they implemented. Previously wasn't something they had thought of having, but it actually worked really well for them, and they found that customers were buying gifts in the form of hampers, and then the intended recipient could pick it up the next day. So it was a really nice way of extending their product to other people. Okay, and now I'm going to talk about hospitality trends. So as you all know, restaurants are often viewed as more than just a place of having food. It's also a setting for special moments like a birthday, like a business meeting, you name it, an engagement. And our research actually found that an overwhelming number of restaurants, 98%, said they had to get creative in the last year to keep that connection with the customer strong. So I'm going to pull out some key findings on the next slide. So 98% of restaurants have had to reorganize their business in order to survive this last year. How have they done that? Well, we've already talked about how some cafes have adapted to offer a retail experience to diversify their core offering. We've also seen restaurants do something similar, and they've actually simplified versions of their menu and takeaway, and even taken it a step further to create cocktail making kits or meal creating kits. And that's really added another revenue stream to their business. A seller of ours, 400 Degrees Pizzeria, based in Cambridge, they actually saw an opportunity to pivot their business, splitting their efforts between pizza oven and pantry. 400 Degrees Pizza launched a delivery service of essential items that they delivered to their customers by bike, and they also turned their pizza oven into a takeaway every Friday. They also had the idea of delivering those items, specifically flour, yeast, and pasta, during the time where there was that crazy baking lockdown craze where everyone was baking sourdough and they couldn't get hold of items. Well, they used that as an opportunity to sell those items to people. They ordered 3 tons worth of flour, and before it even arrived at their doorstep, they'd sold out of it. So it was just a really nice way of being able to capitalize on, the trends that they're seeing. Our next point is 1 in 4 consumers consider contactless technology to be critical to their dining experience. So contactless payment was already very well established in the UK and Europe, high adoption rates across the world really, and nearly 46% of all restaurants introduced contactless payment options to increase their customer safety. Changes in regulation have driven the trend that extends beyond contactless payment to online booking menus, to online booking and digital menus. And we found that the demand for these services is actually driven by the consumer. So an example where I was actually using one of these QR codes in the menus is when I was watching the Six Nations in a pub in Clapham. I didn't want to leave my seat to miss a potential try, but they had a QR code on the table that I was sat at, so I could scan that QR code, order and pay for my beer, and have the waitress deliver it to my seat so I didn't have to leave. And that's the kind of experience that consumers want from restaurant owners to this day, and they will want continuing, moving forward. An overwhelming number, 91% of restaurants expect they will get at least some of their revenue from takeaways over the next year. So while 1 in 5 expect the majority of sales to come from delivery and takeout sales, that's a huge piece of revenue for your business coming from these different areas. And then 62% of consumers would prefer to use a restaurant's own website and app for delivery. This one I found quite interesting. So for restaurants embracing online ordering and takeaway, that requires both a digital infrastructure and also a personnel resource. So that can also be achieved through using a third-party vendor like Just Eat or Deliveroo or Uber Eats. And it's worth noting that our research found that 70% of restaurants would prefer to use their own websites to offer delivery, which is echoed by 62% of consumers preferring to use a restaurant's own app or websites instead of a third party like Deliveroo or Just Eat. However, third-party delivery platforms offer a lot in terms of marketing, especially if you're a new business and you don't have that local consumer base. And there is that extra cost, but there are also ways if you did want to start off by offering it through your own website, through a few different ways. So one of these is connected touch points. So it's more important than ever for a business to build their own online presence, and this could be not just through a website, but also through social media, through email, through SEO content, through your search engines to get more visibility on Google, and also through social media, being active on social media. So updating your business pages and your Instagram, posting of food in your menu during times where you know people are browsing, so you'll increase your visibility on the social channels, and also updating your business pages. This could be on Google, on TripAdvisor, on Facebook, just so you can show relevancy to your customer when they're browsing. And 35% of restaurants made investments in kitchen automation tech in the last 12 months, with 41% planning to invest early next year. So one is connecting your point of sale system with your ticket machine. That gives you time to plan and allows you to limit how many orders you take per hour, so you don't have to worry about missing anything. And seamless communication between multiple ordering channels. So that could be through front of house or through back of house. That's really essential. Another one was ghost kitchens. So this is also an interesting concept for testing expansion. Ghost kitchens have popped up in all different places, from shipping containers to retail spaces, and it's a really great way of you to test moving into a different geographic area with your audience. And it's fairly low cost because obviously you don't have a storefront, you don't need to do marketing. It's all based on delivery, so you're still being able to deliver your food to new customers in different areas. and 91% of restaurants intend to continue engaging with their local community in 2022. So a final takeaway from our hospitality research that we've seen across all industries and sectors is the increased focus on the community that has emerged from the pandemic. We've truly seen restaurants work tirelessly to retain their role in the community. They're offering NHS staff and frontline workers discounts and vouchers. Around 36% were doing this. 32% were donating food and money to numerous community organisations, and 28% were recognising their place in the global community by engaging in sustainability and waste management effort programmes. So our research also showed that 43% of UK consumers would like to see businesses donate food or supplies to communities and organisations and charities going forward, which is really cheering to see. And another example, this one is a local business, so Aries Bakery in Brixton. And that's the owner, Jackie, in the slide. And they had barely been in business a year when COVID hit. And they hadn't really set themselves up as online because they were getting by through looking at orders through DMs, through Instagram. And so when Jackie was actually forced to shut her doors, she decided that she wanted to remain open by pivoting her eatery into a traditional bakery. And customers were really appreciative of this. Again, we're seeing the community spirit pull through, so much so that she was actually inundated with so many orders. At one point, she sold 300 sourdough loaves in just 3 days. And she also wanted to do more for the community, so she started stocking local beers from local breweries, and that capitalised on the restaurant and pub closures, so she was also filling a gap for the customers there as well. But Jackie was also very busy baking, so she couldn't actually tend to all the orders from her DMs. So that's when she added an online shop element and was able to manage all the orders that were coming through. She also upgraded her existing card machine to a Square terminal because you can print receipts from that. Prior to that, she was actually handwriting receipts with customers' names on it. And what was really lovely to see was how Jackie's customers actually helped her with her business. So they actually helped her create orders, sell to other customers, take pictures on social media, and that really helped her business thrive through the pandemic and moving forward. And aside from stocking beers from several Southwest London breweries, much of the produce that she had in her store was locally produced. So she used William Rose's Butchers, Perception Coffee Roasters, and it just proves how leveraging your community and getting involved in your community is a win-win on both sides. And then finally, looking ahead, so retail and restaurant around the world has changed rapidly over the last 2 years, but transformation is giving businesses a chance to invest in smarter working practices, both online and in store. So the changes we've seen aren't intended to keep businesses going for now. They're permanent and redefining what a meaningful retail and restaurant experience looks like. So very quickly, the parts of your business can change and challenges can turn into opportunities. And so I'd like to sum up with 3 pieces of advice for entrepreneurs. One is to invest the time to digitize your business by recording your inventory into a digital system. So it's an upfront investment, but enables you to sell through a large variety of platforms. And then you can leverage that increase in efficiency by expanding into other channels, whether that's social media or setting up an online store, because footfall traffic patterns will change, so you can still reach more customers by going online. And then thirdly, staying agile and open to change, listening to your customers, seeing the trends and being able to adapt and pivot your business, adding features like local delivery and click and collect, and also social media selling. All right, so thank you very much. Thank you for listening today. And I've also listed a few sellers here that are Square sellers because I've mentioned quite a lot about community, and I think it's really important for other businesses to talk to each other. So feel free to reach out to these.